Hello again and welcome to Spotlight, the interview show on RT. I'm М.Л.Энтин and today we'll talk about big politics. The recent Russia-EU summit held in Khabarovsk raised more questions than gave answers. Who and how should guarantee a stable Russian gas supply to Europe? What will be the new security architecture in the region? What's the true role of the old European structures? The guest to answer these questions is М.Л.Энтин, a prominent Russian lawyer who is just back from the summit.
The EU-Russia summit was held in the Russian Far Eastern city of Khabarovsk last week. The EU and Russia hold summits every 6 months, with Russia traditionally hosting the event in the first half of the year, and the country holding the rotating EU presidency acting as the host in the second half. The recent summit in Khabarovsk saw cooperation between Russia and the EU on the global economic crisis, which was the key focus. Other issues including energy security in Europe, relations between Russia and the EU, and the situation in Afghanistan and Pakistan were also discussed. At the closing conference, the participating leaders, including the Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, the Czech President Václav Klaus, whose country currently holds the rotating EU presidency, the EU Foreign Policy Chief Javier Solana, and the European Commission President José Manuel Barroso, said they were satisfied with the outcome of the meeting. М.Л.Энтин, the director of the Institute of European Law, who was at the summit, is our guest in the studio today to discuss the results of the talks.
Hello, Mr. Энтин. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Was it fun in Khabarovsk?
It was a mixed. So it was a lot of work. There are some interesting results, but at the same time it was a discovery. It was a discovery of the city, of a well-established European city, far east of the center of Europe.
Well, actually, probably this is going to be the last summit in the habitual biannual format. One meeting in Europe in autumn and then another one in Russia in spring. The European Union's delegation will be able to raise the issue of holding such summits once a year and to replace the other one with a meeting of the European Commission and the Russian cabinet. But a source in the Kremlin told the media on Wednesday Russia will not support this initiative. Why?
At this stage, it's very difficult to say how we will develop the sequence of meetings on different levels. The matter is that everything depends on the success of the Lisbon Treaty. In accordance with the Lisbon Treaty, everything will change inside the European Union. So let's see how the situation will develop.
Well, on the eve of the Russia-EU summit, the European Union held another summit with China. And the Czech President Klaus said, I quote, that the conclusion of the science-technology agreement is the concrete result of the meeting with the Chinese, end quote. What was the concrete result of this Russia-EU summit?
Everybody acknowledges that for the future successes of the meetings, of the relationship between Russia and European Union, what is needed is understanding and mutual trust. To establish mutual trust, you need to make first steps in this direction. And I'm quite sure that such steps were made in Khabarovsk.
So you're saying that in Khabarovsk certain steps were made towards concrete results. Well, but no concrete results. Then okay, can you remember any concrete results from the previous summits, the Russia-EU summits, which could prove the strategic partnership that exists between Russia and the EU?
So I think that we talk too much about words, and to in a lesser extent we speak about concrete results. But results is discussions we have in different frame, in accordance with different maps we've signed, we've established, to establish common spaces between Russia and European unions. So our aim is to create 4 such spaces in the economic sphere, in the sphere of external security, internal security, and in the sphere of culture, technology, and education. And this summit as one of the central points of the discussion, had just an overview of the results in all these spheres. And just enumeration of the subjects which were raised and just very brief discussion of different items is a real proof that a relationship is very intensive. A lot of things are done in these spheres, and we decided some time ago that there is no need to have concrete results dedicated to this or that meeting. What is important is to move in the direction which were described in the maps.
Okay, well, officials say that the 23rd Russia-EU summit focused on a new basic legal agreement between the two sides, the global economic crisis, the European security, but energy overshadowed all other issues at the recent EU-Russia summit in Khabarovsk, as Spotlight's Elena Demidova reports.
Almost 5 months after January's gas dispute in Europe, the ice still hasn't melted in Russia-EU relations. Each side is blaming the other for not reacting promptly enough to the energy crisis. An exchange of words was evident at a recent summit in Khabarovsk.
European Union member states were suffering the consequences of a problem that was not originated in the European Union or by any member state of the European Union. So, of course, we ask Russia and Ukraine, of course, to do everything it is in their capability to do to avoid another kind of crisis next year.
President Medvedev in turn said that Europe could have been more involved in the Russia-Ukraine dispute. He also believes the adopted mechanisms for energy security don't work and should be revised.
Ukraine is a party to both the Energy Charter and the Energy Charter Treaty. So what? They did everything they wanted to. They couldn't care less about the Charter. New instruments are needed.
Revising the Russia-EU energy dialogue is something the two sides have agreed on at least. But although a lot was said about the need for cooperation, each side is continuing with different projects. This year, Brussels announced a deal with Ukraine to modernize its aging pipelines. Moscow wasn't consulted. Nor is Russia involved with the Nabucco pipeline, designed to bypass the largest gas supplier in the world. Iran and Azerbaijan's participation is still under question, though. However, Russia's South Stream project was welcomed by Italy, Bulgaria, Greece and Serbia last week. Moscow says that South Stream could start operating as early as 2015.
Well, speaking about the essence of the relations, does Russia have any ultimate and clear goal in its cooperation with the European Union? This question is often asked today by observers, and I want to ask this question to my guest, М.Л.Энтин. Well, actually, the reason I ask you is that there is an impression that everything the EU wants from Russia today is the guarantees of Russia's gas supply to Europe. Now, what does Russia want from the EU except the guarantee of demand?
So, in a way, I have an answer. I made an answer during our previous conversation. As a matter is that Russia and the European Union discuss all range of issues, cooperation in economic sphere, in all the spheres of interests. Matters like our cooperation in the struggle against all the evils humanity has in front of it. So it's more, it's easier to say where we do not cooperate, where there is no coordination of our efforts, than to make an enumeration of these spheres. So as far as the gas, natural gas is concerned, as far as the energy is concerned, it's a very important issue. It's one of the central issues. But nevertheless, let us not to make a mistake, having an impression of the summit out of the press conference when leaders reply to the answers they are asked. Because energy was discussed, but it was one of the issues. And let's imagine a very long agenda with a lot of issues. And you need to have a discussion, to have an exchange of views, to come to some kind of understanding, and at the same time to go quickly to another item, because all of them are to be discussed. So as far as the energy concerns, what are the results? First of all, parties agreed that energy is not a dividing factor in the relationship between Russia and European Union. It must be used for the benefit of both parties. Second issue, Russian Federation advanced some new proposal as far as the new legal basis of future cooperation in this field is concerned. So this initiative was discussed, and it was agreed by European Union that there are some reasons for this proposal. That this proposal is to be discussed. That the Energy Charter and the Treaty to Energy Charter could serve as a basis with additions of new proposals and new ideas put forward by the Russian Federation. We could think about different frames for negotiations on this subject. What is important, said Russian President, is the result. And the result is a legal basis for a situation when everybody is sure that security of production, supply, and use of energy is there.
Says М.Л.Энтин. Spotlight will be back shortly, right after a break, and we will continue this interview, in fact, in less than a minute. So stay with us, don't go.
Time has stopped here. Just helicopters changed their insignias. And soldiers changed their uniforms. But the echo of exploding shells in these mountains sounds the same. 20 years since Soviet troops left Afghanistan. 8 years since NATO came. Afghanistan going in circles on RT. Measure thrice and cut once. Sometimes it's nothing to do with the patients themselves. They're ready for deeper and deeper scars. For some, it's like having a haircut. For others, it's medical. It can make you happy, or it can ruin your life. Russian plastic surgery on RT.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm M.L.Энтин, and just a reminder that my guest in the studio today is М.Л.Энтин, director of the European Studies Institute. He was a part of the Russian delegation at the Russia-EU summit just over in Khabarovsk. Mr. Энтин, the most quoted phrase of all that Russian President Medvedev said in Khabarovsk was when he said that don't turn the Eastern Partnership into an anti-Russian partnership. Was there something that happened in Khabarovsk that made him angry? Why did he come up with such a thing? Or was it something that he wanted to say when getting ready? Was this one of the points that he was making?
Mm-hmm. So thank you very much for this question. I would like to use this to say that I've never seen the President angry during the whole discussion of different items. And it was a pleasure how he masters all the different items, all different issues which were discussed. So one of them, not at all central to the discussion was the question about Eastern Partnership. It was raised,
but it's all over the headlines these days. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the European Union and Solana, Barroso, everybody, and especially Klaus, they wanted to say that there are some doubts about the Eastern Partnership from the Russian Federation. It will never be used against the interest of the Russian Federation. It's just to promote peace, security, well-being in the vicinity of the European Union.
And they said that?
They said so.
Oh,
yes.
so the reason that Medvedev made the statement is because he wanted to hear this answer that you just mentioned. Is that right?
In a way, maybe in a way. At the same time, once again, what matters is not only words but by deeds.
Well, an answer like that is an obligation of a sort.
Yes. But we have a history of a large gap between discussions or between declarations and real deed. And maybe it's good just in advance to say that new forms of cooperation or new instruments or new initiatives must be used in cooperation, in coordination for the mutual benefit and not against this or that party.
But anyway, Russia's relations with Europe, with United Europe, are influenced by Russia's relations with other European countries. And this was stressed once again at the final news conference. During the final press conference at the Russia-EU summit, Dmitry Medvedev said that Russia cannot provide guarantees to Europe that in the future there will be no more gas stoppages through the fault of Ukraine.
In terms of the availability of gas and in terms of fulfilling our obligations, on our part there are no problems at all. Assurances should be provided by those who need to pay for the gas. In here, there is scope for cooperation ahead. Whether the Ukrainians are capable of paying, well, we don't know. What do partners do in such cases? Partners help their partners. We're ready to help Ukraine, but we would like the EU and the countries concerned to show their big part of responsibility if they're interested in cooperation.
Are there any legal mechanisms that could guarantee a stable supply of Russia's gas to Europe through Ukraine? Did the guys at the summit talk about it?
What was discussed at the summit were the reasons why Russia advanced some new proposals as far as the new legal basis or for adjustment of dating of the energy charter. It doesn't matter. What matters is the result. So we have energy charter. We have a treaty to the energy charter, said the president, but it was useless when the conflict between Russia and Ukraine erupted, and nobody asked to implement it. The Ukraine is a member of the treaty or is a party to the treaty. So it means that we need new instruments, more powerful, more legally binding, and especially mechanisms to guarantee security in all the steps of the gas production.
Look, I'm sorry, when you say it was discussed, you mean discussions on the highest level between the leaders, or there also were discussions on the expert level that you're talking about?
In principle, there is a lot of discussion. What is important when you have a meeting of such kind of importance? To have a political understanding of future steps and the political understanding why this or that step is to be made. So, Russian side explained why new legal basis is needed. Advanced its arguments. These arguments were not repelled. Not at all.
No, what I'm asking, when Medvedev comes up with some proposal, do you have to provide proof and to push these arguments to your opposite numbers on an expert level? You see? to explain to the opposite.
So, when the decision on the highest level is taken, then all the discussion could go further, and we could have concrete results about which we have talked previously. So, in this field, what is important is that European Union said that it comprises the concerns of the Russian Federation. It understands why new proposals are made, and the European Union will be eager to cooperate on the updating or on the modernization of the Energy Charter and Treaty to the Energy Charter. The position of the European Union that all which proved its necessity, all good things in these documents, but it's at the same time a position of the Russian Federation are to be taken on board, but at the same time new added value is needed for this legal basis. And now it's enough to go further and to put on the table some more concrete proposals.
Okay, let's discuss another issue raised during the summit. Well, Russia's President Dmitry Medvedev spoke of a new European security treaty, and this idea did find support.
I do remember when the President Medvedev, first speech he made, he talked about the need of a new structure of security in Europe. As you know, we thought about that, we talked about that, and we have decided to get engaged on that debate. And today we have agreed that in the coming month, probably 2 months, we'll have another go into a debate of that important issue that the President put on the table.
Russia is proposing an idea of a new security treaty to Europe. Does that mean that Moscow wants to dismiss the OSCE, the Council of Europe, NATO, and you name it?
You know quite well that in the political sphere a lot of myths are created. What you've just presented is one of them. So in the framework of the discussion Russia and the European Union has in Khabarovsk, it was explained that no such aim is envisaged by the Russian Federation.
So it needed to be explained still, yeah?
Not at all. No, it needed to be explained why. Because Russian Federation said that actual European, Euro-Atlantic security structure is fragmented. It does not provide...
Outdated.
It does not provide security for all. It does not provide equal security for all. And we need to recreate it. But it does not mean that we abolish existing structure. No. But existing structure is not enough. As far as the European Union is concerned, the European Union says we are entirely satisfied with NATO, with European Union, with other structure, but at the same time we understand the reasoning of the Russian Federation, and if we understand the reasoning of the Russian Federation, let's discuss new proposal and let us engage in negotiations. As far as the Russian Federation is concerned, Moscow considers that in nearest future there is a need of high-level meeting of the summit on the matters of security. But all such kind of things are to be well prepared, well discussed, and we need to be quite sure that we will have a needed follow-up.
But still, Europe is pretty cautious about any Russian new proposal, any initiative. Does it mean there's a lack of trust between the EU and Russia?
Unfortunately, there is a lack of trust. It's really a lack of trust. And the lack of trust is because there is a tendency to misinterpret initiatives, proposals, or just real deeds. That's why it's so important to have discussions and to go further.
Thank you very much. And just a reminder that my guest in the studio today was М.Л.Энтин. We'll be back tomorrow with more first-hand comments on what's going on in and outside Russia. Until then, stay on RT and take care.